So I started the recording, which normally I don't say in the recording. Just fun fact, right? People know that because they never hear it. But I want to be explicit that I think I'm going to be a little subdued because it's a little later than normal, which is my fault, and my mom just went to bed. So I'm gonna try and not get excited, not say a bunch of loud expletives or any words, and just like have a nice relaxing conversation with you into the microphone at like a library voice, like a little bit louder than library voice.
I thought this was the episode where we're going to be doing synchronized screaming together.
We have to push that to 107. It cannot be today.
All right, something to look forward to, guys.
We're doing synchronized beard growing though. That I don't think either of us talk to each other about, but it's an active thing that is going on with our faces right now.
Yeah, I took beard trimmers to Sweden and forgot the charger. So I was like, well, I guess this is growing out.
Wow, so that's just a Sweden beard. Did you have anything to trim the mustache? Because my least favorite thing is when the mustache gets long enough to curl onto the lip and like get into the mouth region.
No, I didn't actually do that because I was thinking about growing out a mustache, but no. I think I'm shaving this all off soon.
I probably will also. Can I distract you with one more thing before we talk about Dota?
Yeah.
I have a friend who I'm pretty sure just accidentally sent me a dick pic on Snapchat.
Okay. Pretty sure accidentally, like the accident is the pretty sure part.
I'm pretty sure what I saw, but excuse me, I'm confident what I saw, but I'm pretty sure it was an accident because I don't think it was artistic enough to be intentional and funny. I think it was crude enough to be intended for someone who wasn't me. And now
you're saying well, I mean, this says something about your view of your friend, that they wouldn't take artistic dick pics for their Tinder hookup.
Yeah, I think they're in a committed relationship. I think it was just sexting. I think that I caught a crosswind of sexting, and because I haven't responded yet before we started recording. This just happened. I'm gonna have like a solid hour to think about how to best respond, because what's probably happens is they're not gonna feel good about this, but you can't take the Snapchat back. I think just respond, how's it hanging? That's really funny. Something like that. That's really funny. That's really. I might steal that from you. I'll give you credit. How's it hanging? It's not really.
Never mind. You don't need to answer that question. I could see already.
I have multiple friends who would send artistic pictures. They'd be like, "Oh, this is like funny, like how broy." This was not artistic.
You dress it up, put like a hat on it or something,
or like a funny reflection. I have more than one friend who, for years now, on and off, has sent Snapchats of them just peeing in different random public places. I might have weird friends. I might be admitting. I don't know.
Everybody needs a hobby, you know.
I want my hobby to just be hanging out, doing some podcasts, talking about Dota, maybe video games, other stuff. Good news. And the world gave us a lot to talk about.
Oh my God, so much.
I don't know, like we could probably, if we wanted to, do like a 2-hour plus show with the amount of bullshit that has been slung. I don't think we're gonna do that, but like it's a lot. Like where do we even begin? You know where we can begin? We can begin, I guess, continuing off the last episode, which someone broke the no Reddit rule, which for this was like fine, but like I think it was destined to happen. And some people saw us talk about the ongoing situation with Valve and the canceled major and people being upset and there being a player meeting and there being solutions, and then what you said on the show almost felt moot and neutered compared to what Suns fan or other people did, which was basically just like, I mean, I guess leak's the right word, but it was like, hey everybody, this is all the explicit information that's going on behind the scenes, and that felt weird.
Yes.
Not to call Shannon out too much, but like, I don't really get that one.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. He did his research, I guess. He treated it like he was a journalist, got sources. That's one way to do it. I think, I think that's... I personally was like, oh, when Shannon put it out there, I was like, oh, nice. Now we can talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, so someone else did the thing that was probably a little odd, so we can just sit in here and talk about it. It's I don't know if I agree with the idea of like journalism when everybody in the know by and large are just like friends. Like it's not like there's any like beat reporting that's going on or like late night phone calls. It's just a Discord. It's like, hey, should I talk about this?
Yeah, it is pretty funny. So yeah, that's going to be the first thing. Online majors going to be replacing the regular major, regional majors. So every region's going to get their own thing. I think Valve specifically didn't put it out for a while because I think they were trying to lock down all the tournament organizers. So at least that is the assumption I'm making, because I don't know why they wouldn't release that information sooner. Like I guess like as soon as they have that idea, unless they really wanted to prove to the teams like, hey, we can give you guys, or maybe it was just a test. Honestly, maybe it was just a test. Maybe they held on to releasing that information intentionally because they leaked it to all the teams, or they told all the teams, and then they were just like, no, let's just wait. Let's just see how long it takes. How long does it take for this information to get leaked to the public? Because that would be part of the implicit counter argument to why don't you guys communicate with us about certain things? And then they could be like, this is why, because you don't shut the fuck up and keep this information private. But I think the communication like stuff is like, I think the communication complaints aren't like, hey, why don't you give us information that we can keep private? It's, why don't you ever respond to any of our complaints about the scene or problems that we're
Answer
having?
my emails.
Answer my emails, please.
We've talked about this, I think, a little bit tangentially in the topic of like roster leaks, like even as recently as this last DPC season starting. But like, I feel like I have a really complicated relationship with the idea of leaking news like this, because part of me is like, okay, fair game. People know, people report on it. It's just the circle of how these industries work, right? But the other part of me is like, I don't know, maybe like give them another couple days to just like do the thing they wanted to do and maybe make sure that plans are good and solidified. I think that it's just, I have empathy for being on the other side of leaks and knowing that like sometimes those announcements aren't made out of like laziness or because no one wants to type up an email, but because things just aren't confirmed yet. And then sometimes that can get a little bit messy when the reality is different from a leak. So like it's weird. One of my favorite takes, I think this might have been Ruby on Twitter or someone responding to the announcement of the news, is just they thought, and I also agree and thought, that it's weird that the teams knew what they were playing for, but the broadcast and the fans didn't know what they were playing for the last week of games. Like all the teams were like trying, like seriously, because like now there was money in DPC points and like squeak into a bracket and play like a league. Like that's why you didn't see a lot of fiesta stuff going on at all. Like there was zero fiestaing and there was a lot of integrity because people are like, fuck, I got a shot to shoot. But that wasn't like a talking point on a broadcast or anything while the games were happening, which was weird.
No. Okay, so there was tiebreakers that happened, and I definitely use that as a talking point because I had a well, actually I was going to talk to ESL about it, but then I realized that if I talked to ESL about it, they could tell me no. So I was like, never mind. I'm not going to say anything to them. But I talked to like Waga, who I was working with for the tiebreakers, and we were talking about whether or not we were going to use that. And I went ahead and said, yeah, we are going to use that because ultimately there is no story. Like the flat structure of the prizes and the very few DPC points that you get, none of it's worth jack shit.
$1,000.
Comparison, yeah, in comparison to the grandeur of TI, and that's ultimately what all roads lead to is to TI. So compared to that, like none of this means shit. So the only thing that does matter is DPC points, and when there are more DPC points available for this regional major thing, that it actually gives the tiebreaker that we're casting some weight to it. So yeah, I just went ahead and was like, yeah, we're gonna talk about this, and I just kind of treated it. I think I said early on in the broadcast that we're gonna just treat this as what could be happening, and then I just for the rest of the broadcast was like, yeah, we just refer to it as this regional online major replacement. We just kept bringing it up because it like 350 points, I think, for first or something like that. That's so much more important than the like 60 points that you could be getting, and also the gigantic difference in prize pool. Because there was specifically a tiebreaker in North America between fourth and fifth. So that was like the most important tiebreaker that could possibly be. So, yeah.
Do you think?
So we talked about it for tiebreakers, but yeah.
For the tiebreakers, do you think that we've ever had a tiebreaker of that like magnitude in a while? Like tuning into the idea of watching. Okay, we're gonna watch OG, Tundra, Nigma, and Secret in Eastern Europe all fight for something that at first might have not mattered, but now actually does matter in a round robin format. That's like I know the story of Western Europe DPC got a little bit muddied towards the end with the idea of like, oh hey, no major, but all in all, like kind of an exciting season between the teams who performed well, between the tiebreakers, between Alliance. Like I feel like it almost got lost in the narrative and the pitchforking that there was a fun tour for Western Europe concluded by a fun day of tiebreakers.
Yeah, it was. We didn't have to go to a second round of tiebreakers, which was good because I came back home that night, and I think I had like 5 hours until my shuttle was ready to go. So if we had had one of those ties and we had to have 2 more best of 3s to conclude, I would have had to skip out at some point just to be able to catch my flight. So
you're like, Kuroki, yeah. I love you. Glad you're winning more. I gotta get back on a plane.
Yeah. So it's I think Western Europe was particularly exciting. Just because a 4-way tiebreaker has, so many different possibilities to it. In the end, I personally believe the teams that managed to secure themselves were, maybe not quite the teams I expected. I did expect Nigma to go down, and then for me, it was a toss-up between OG and Secret. I went for Secret. Turns out it was OG. I think that's just maybe a little bit of a luck of the draw, the best of ones and that sort of thing. But I think OG is going to be great contenders for this top 4. And just looking at the top 4 of Western Europe right now, Team Liquid, okay, newer team, but established. But then you have Team Tickles, Tundra, and OG. And I think all 3 of those names are like relatively, like they're not the representation of Western Europe in the international scene the last couple of years, So
it would be
cool
very
to be able to see it. Yeah.
If there was a traditional major in person land, what have you. If we're fantasying that right now, things are going to go as planned. I would be really interested to see what the breakdown of placements would have done for broader tournament viewing, because you would have, when is the last time that we had an international tournament? I mean, the answer is there isn't one, but like, follow me for a second. When's the last time we had an international tournament at the level of a major that didn't have Navi, Secret, or Nigma in it?
Yeah. Viewership definitely would have gone down for Nigma in particular, because they are the biggest. They are the biggest Dota team when it comes to viewers that come and watch them play, because it unlocks a whole region of people that
and DG
may not watch,
right? And DG.
True. And EG.
When is the last time there's been a tournament without those 4 teams in any order, right? Like, I know Navi has like had whatever, but like, wild.
Yeah.
I would have loved to
have been missing.
I would have loved to have seen what that would have looked like for morbidly for tournament health, but also just for viewership. But it's a bummer that you also don't get to see the flip side of that. And I know that everyone's like, well, Joey, what a hot take. Are you saying it's a bummer there wasn't an international event? Fucking herp derp, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. But I would have been very interested to see what would have shook out. Do we know any more about what is going to like timeline on this? Did they talk about that in the blog?
Yeah, it's somewhere like mid-February.
Okay, so there's a couple weeks.
Yeah. All right, next topic. We got lots of shit to get through.
Which one? Right. You want to pull them out of a hat?
Okay, next one, we'll just do this in order of what's happened this last week. So the next one would be Kyle's tweet about Alliance, which would not have been news, but so many things followed that oh my God, what the fuck? All right, so Kyle, for those of you guys who don't know, Kyle tweets out about Alliance. It's your usual Kyle hot take where he kind of says basically that Alliance shouldn't be celebrating after a game 2 because you want to remain even keel throughout a series.
I can read it.
Yeah, go for it.
At Keeping It Kyle, January 18th. 432 likes, 62 retweets, 214 comments. Noting no punctuation or capitalization really here. Watching the post-game cams, I thought Alliance had just 2-0'd Liquid and was like, damn. Then realized they were celebrating a 1-1 score? ? Much love, guys, but save the hugs for the real W. Damn. For what it's worth, I've lost a lot of game 3s, and I think it's important to reel in your emotional peaks so you don't get too excited and thus tired before you finish a series. Nikobaby, in response. We've struggled this season. We've had changes and we fought through and fought hard for this. And you, spitting in Twitter, always bitter for your own failure as a player? Who are you? You are the reason I don't open Twitter and the reason why people don't see us as superstars yet. Congratulations.
There is so many things going on with that. Just that interaction. But like, with just like the TLDR is Kyle, bad tweet, unnecessary hot take for a team. Like, you're kicking somebody who's already gone down, you know? If you're talking about Alliance, who's like top of the division and they're battling up against Liquid for first or second, you know, like, okay, that take is like way more acceptable. But the context of you kicking a team that is already eliminated, that is already is going down, is relegated down to lower division, you know, I think real bad optics there.
Punching down. It's punching down.
Yeah, you're 100% punching down. And it's just like, if you wanted to put a point, you wanted to get across this whole like, hey, this is just a general thing that I learned. There's much better ways to be able to do it. So Kyle, just like a dumb hot take. Once again, Kyle puts his foot in his mouth. Unsurprising. Nikobaby's response, very, like, for the first 3 lines, great. I mean, great-ish. You know, it was like understandable. The "who are you?" You know, or like, sorry, the bit about bitter for your own failures. You know, like, okay, that's a little personal, but like understandable. And then comes like the weird delusional part, which is like blaming Kyle for the reason that. And is he talking about himself, his team, or Dota players in general? But like, that Kyle's the reason that people don't see him, his team, or Dota players, whichever one of those 3 he's trying to reference, as superstars yet. Like, that part is just not grounded in reality. Like, if he just left it at the first 2 lines, would have been great. 3rd line, okay, a little dig, personal dig, but totally acceptable considering the fact that that Kyle's hot take was a little too spicy. And but then like that 4th line was just like, it really ruined his response. It was just like, what? Like, are you blaming Kyle for the reason that like the general Dota audience doesn't view you as a superstar and you're not like a bigger celebrity? What? What the fuck?
I have a problem with the message, but I also have a problem with like the ambiguity, right? Because I think if he does mean like him specifically in that us, then like it's really like oddly self-centered worldviewy. Like, you're the reason people don't see me as a superstar because of people like you putting us down. Like, I think I can make a couple leaps of logic to understand why he could think that, right? Like, oh man, people put us down all the time. The establishment like doesn't allow us to be our own people. People see us as jokes. We're just, people always cherished Kyle's generation and no one really cares about, the Nikobabies and the modern Dota generation of the world. Like, okay, yes, there's a very obvious chip on your shoulder there, Mr. Baby. But like, what made you think that was a good one to share? And if it is like this tweet, and I think you can tell by the way it was typed, I don't think it was even read once before it was sent. And if I have some general advice for anybody who wants to do any social media-ing when they feel any type of emotion, happy, sad, horny, sad.
Well, happy is fine. Horny, sad, angry. Those emotions definitely need to be rechecked. But happy tweets. When was the last time someone was too happy and just threw something out there that was like, ooh, that's a bad take. You're too happy right now.
I recant that. You're right. If you're feeling any emotion that you could tag as like negative or wry, read your tweet again before you send it. Or wait 5 minutes. Like,
or have someone else read it.
Yeah, or have a buddy read it. Like, I know that not all of us are on like a stage like Nikobaby, and he definitely also kind of put his foot in the mouth and got some egg on the face. But like, I'm rooting for Nikobaby. I feel sad that it feels like he's stuck in Alliance hell. Even with their season going well last season. Like, I want Nikobaby to succeed. But
I legitimately referred to him as the superstar of that roster. That like I routinely say like that's if I'm Alliance, like I built around this guy, right? But like, dog, people don't hold you to be a superstar because you just got relegated to the lower division. That's why people don't hold you as a superstar because you guys didn't win a single series on LAN. Like that's why when you were winning and you were first in the online league, you were held as a superstar. Like all we did was talk about, how great Alliance was. So,
could you even believe though that we can go deeper on this if we wanted to, but we can't because there's so much to talk about. But this was eclipsed, and I don't want to sound like I'm making a hyperbole when I say eclipsed. Like eclipsed is like it's like a really big thing, right? Like it's literally a fucking celestial event. But yes. I think it's apt to say that this little spat was eclipsed by what Kelly did and said.
Yes. So the public narrative went from Kyle's an idiot, Nikobaby does his response, and okay, they're both kind of idiots, and then Kelly does this, which I have the tweets in front of me, which Kelly quote tweets Nikobaby and says, and people wonder why Dota 2 players stopped using social media. I love it, by the way, when people, like, nobody said that. No, nobody was like, why do Dota play? I don't see that question on Reddit at all, but like, hey, go for it. And he follows it up. Kyle is a fucking bitter asshole and has been for years. Big bully whom I hope one day gets what he deserves. Nothing. Fuck you, Kyle. I hope you never get happiness in your life. Middle finger emoji, turd emoji, and then a follow-up. For a disgusting dog that regularly pays for sex and treats girls like objects, he sure rides on a fucking high horse. I actually hope he dies sad and alone because he is a sad, sad, sad person. Another middle finger, this time an explosion emoji. Wonderful. I found it really interesting that she felt he's so sad that she had to say it 4 times in a medium that only has 140 characters.
I can't laugh.
She was
that
willing
loud.
to use 12 of those. 12 characters in a 140 character limit because she really wanted to emphasize how sad Kyle is.
Fuck Austin. Fuck, dude, I can't laugh that loud. You should know that's really
I only
funny.
just now noticed it.
That's really funny.
I'm reading that. I only just now noticed that she did that. Holy shit. That's so fucking funny.
She's got limited characters. Okay. I've looked at these tweets, obviously. A lot of people saw them. A lot of people read them. Kelly, storied history throughout multiple different esports. Definitely someone who has been
veteran. Yeah.
in and around the scene for a long time, an esports boomer and esports Illuminati. I don't know what kind of PR training they do at Alliance, but
apparently none, or bad training.
But when you're like, and again, like, we'll talk about it in a second, like, Kelly stepped down, Kelly has apologized, Kelly is, looking to repent and, do all that, and, like, cool. Like, the proper steps to try and, like, atone for what it's worth. This coming from a leader of a large esports organization, really bad PR, really bad take. Just to start there. And then when you read it again, like, I forgot the exact context, and listening to you read it and listening how it kind of goes from, like, icky to attack to over the line to super over the line, is, like, not... If I can give some advice for anybody who is, like, feeling, like, horny or sad or mad on Twitter, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Dude.
Don't commit literal career suicide. Because, yeah, she stepped down from Alliance as a result of this. And then the follow-up has been, then she's been, like, weirdly active on Reddit. Yeah. Like, this is one of those things that it's just, like, it's so stupid, sad, unbelievably toxic. Like, there's so many things wrong with this that I can't, like, I'm not really going to go into this any further. I literally I looked at that and I almost, like, my gut reaction was just a laugh, because I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So yeah, I don't really want to go into it that much further because Kelly got raked over the coals on Reddit, so I don't really feel like I need to say anything that, like, there hasn't already been, like, 1,000 people saying a whole lot of things about Kelly, some of them way over the line. Holy shit. But, that happened.
Yeah, I don't think that any of our audience is doing that because we've collected a bunch of upstanding individuals. But
True.
Kelly making a complete ass of herself and going over the line and like objectively doing bad stuff is still not an okay excuse to attack her on the basis of her being a woman. And it's sad that that has to be said out loud, because I once again got to read through a lot of the Reddit comments that were removed. Boy. And it is, what Kelly did, like, let's be clear about it, fucking gross, wrong, shitty, not good. I think that there's people who in response were worse than Kelly, because not only were they being shitty, they were being like incredibly misogynistic. So that problem may or may not surprise you, still prevalent in our little community of a home. You're right. I don't think there's
those sort of people come out when there's an opportunity. Like it's like they can they feel the shift in the change in the wind. They could smell. The tide is turning against this person. Now time for me to unburden myself of all this hate that I have for this person. That always comes out, and the reason for their hate can be various. If they have a personal beef with that person, then they see some negative feedback coming their way, and they're gonna unload in that area, and they actually get upvoted as a result because everyone's in the fuck you, hate this person, and they also unburden themselves of all of their sexism and racism and whatever, because now's the time to do it if there's any time.
You think they would get to do it enough in Mason's stream, but for some reason they just had overflow, so they had to go to Reddit during the Kelly thread.
You really like taking shots at Mason's stream, don't you? I don't never watch Mason's stream. I feel like you do.
I've never
like
tuned in.
Watch it.
I don't hate watch anything. I've never tuned in. Someone gave me the note that I was too mean to Bulldog fans, so I figured that why not?
You gotta switch it up.
I gotta switch it up every now and then.
One of these times we have to go at a gore. So.
Well, that's easy.
So Kelly Kelly steps down from Alliance. She's no longer CEO or whatever she was before. And the follow up, the funny thing I want to talk about next to this, another what I consider a bit of a PR disaster. It's nothing to the same level, but then Loda tweets out suggestions for the community to help him make a Dota roster, basically. And all I could think about, do you remember when Team Freedom put a Reddit post asking the community for draft feedback of some kind?
No, I don't.
Oh my god, so they did that. Their team, so I knew some people on the team. Their team was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? Why the fuck would you possibly make this Reddit thread?" I have no idea what the fucking mindset was behind this, but it just basically says, I don't believe in the people. I think my people are incompetent. And what I feel like, and it also brings out the worst people in the community, the people who think that they know way more than they actually do, and I feel like this is the exact same thing in so many ways. Where why are you asking the community about this? This is supposed to be your expertise. Why are you asking the community for this? Because you're only going to get bad answers from people because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. This is because it's not their area of expertise. This is your area of expertise. If you wanted other people's area of other people who are in the same area of expertise, you could have gone to various high-level pub players or professional players and talked to them about the pub players that they've run into that who left some sort of mark on them. Somebody stood out, what the fuck?
So
it's just what is this?
If Loda were to approach you and be like, "Hey, Austin, can I pick your brain about something?"
Yo, first of all, people may not know this about me, but like, just to be clear, when like I have a relationship with somebody, I feel like I'm very forgiving and like I like to be able to seek out, like, but once I identify you as like a toxic asset and I go, okay, we no longer have okay, I no longer want to be like friends with you or whatever, it means I no longer want to have any kind of relationship with you. I don't want to talk to you. So if he approaches me, I'm not talking to him.
Well, now I know how you feel about him. How do you feel about fountain hooks?
I don't think they're balanced.
Okay. Role play. You're accepting of a conversation with Loda. He reaches out to you or another person, someone who has an above average level of insight into Dota because of their job, but they're not like, their career profession isn't building rosters, and they go, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe you give advice, maybe you see something, maybe you talk about some things you saw.
I literally don't think I'm qualified enough to be able to do that. I like if somebody asked me about like, hey, like, do you know any like pub players or anything like that you see, like don't feel qualified. I would not like. I would never take money. Let's put it that way, because I don't think I'm qualified enough to be able to give that advice.
Perfect. So you don't feel qualified to give that advice. You're probably in the upper echelon of people who could, in theory, give that advice. If you can't give that advice, there's literally 0.00% chance that I could claim to give that advice, let alone anybody else who's not in Dota as a career, let alone anybody else who is responding to a Twitter thread, right? Like, so like what kind of response are you looking for? Is it feedback? Is it just about to be able to be like, hey man, I think that Han's skin isn't good, or Nikobaby's too greedy, or why don't you draft Weehaw, or like, like what could you possibly get out of that exchange that you would take as, you being Loda, take as like constructive? Is it like a PR thing to be like, hey, we're really hurting, we love our community so much, we want to hear what you have to think? Maybe that's an angle to it, right? Where like you're not really looking for advice, but it's kind of like a nice PR thing. But even then, like we're talking about it and kind of having a negative PR slant to it, because it's like, why would they do that? Which I think was kind of the general consensus between a lot of people, is like, this seems weird and desperate and not very hopeful for a future.
Yeah. I think it just makes you look incompetent. And I don't think that they are. So, I don't know. I just think it was some weird attempt at a PR move that was not very well thought out. That's my thought. But so then the last bit of fallout from all of this is that Kelly started getting really active on Reddit, because she posted something about basically about Weehaw and how we won't join a team with a gambling sponsor, and then that sparked a Reddit thread, and Kelly was really involved in that Reddit thread. And in it, she apparently says she talks about European salaries, which she did, but it's honestly pretty broad. I think she said the monthly salaries range from, I think it was something like 7,000 to 40,000 euros a month or something like that. So I don't know. It's such a broad range that it honestly didn't mean too much to me. But I did notice one other thing, which was that she still maintains that Kyle damaged Alliance's brand. And I guess, like, damaged is a term that you can use, because if I have 10,000 HP and I take -1, that is damage. So I guess like the severity of the damage isn't necessarily like exactly defined, but I mean, as someone who's involved with the team organization, like if I go out of my way and just shit on Liquid in the most mean-spirited possible way, do you think that is actually going to hurt Team Liquid?
I'm sitting here thinking, who has that power, if anyone? Like, I don't want to make this just a Kyle thing.
People are putting like like Kyle's being held as like keeping Nikobaby from being a superstar. Like Kyle's also like fucking keeping Alliance from being like a top tier organization because he keeps damaging them. Sponsors are fleeing or something because Kyle says things like, what?
There's probably some people who can damage your reputation. There's probably some people who have enough like zealoted fans and goodwill. Like PBD kind of jumps out into my mind. Or if he really railed on people, he can probably stir up like, you know, a subset of people to dislike a brand. Maybe there's a couple others, but like I don't think Kyle has that clout, and I don't think that's really a knock on Kyle at all. I don't think anybody really does. I don't think you can irreparably damage a brand based on a tweet or two from someone who isn't like
based on the things that like especially the thing like, okay, tweets are like, you know, that's personal, like there are no like boundaries in that regard. Like you can go as Kelly shown, you can go as far as you want in your personal tweets, but like especially things that are like done on broadcast, right? Like the Loda bit, which I think they still maintain was like damaging to them, even though I think it was very clearly a bit. It was a joke. But like more importantly, like even if that like let's say that like somehow criticism of their team is somehow some like make believe world where like that actually somehow influences a sponsor's decisions of like whether or not they're gonna stay with Alliance or some shit. Like, is that actually my responsibility? No. I look at regular sports, and I don't think any of those pundits or analysts have any sort of responsibility. If anything, that would actually be entirely against them. That if they would even consider that they wouldn't be, they would be like, oh well, I have friends on that roster, or like, you know, I like that organization I used to play with, or something like that. You know, I wouldn't want to, like, your job is to be an analyst and to be straight with your analyzing and your feelings and like how you view the game and your criticisms that you have, and also to be entertaining. Those are like the two things. And like I don't think any of that means that I have like a duty to somehow like protect any organization from bad press because, you know, like anyway, I still think that whole thing is just a load of horse shit.
I know that we've been talking a lot of like ickiness about Alliance, and I know that in the past I've used them as the butt of jokes for like, oh, I think they're going to be eliminated. I'm not like a huge fan of like the 6-man coaching thing, like, so I personally have sounded, you know, salty and sour against them, which like makes me want to choose my words carefully as like we have like a nuanced discussion about them, because I don't want to sound super biased, even though I think that for me what it comes down to and what we're kind of touching on is that it oftentimes feels like or appears as if to myself that Alliance has a victim complex where they're like, you know, they're always the victim of someone else's bad behavior, whether it's Kyle's tweets and segments, whether it's the community or other teams not being happy with them about 6-man, whether it's, you know, the way players or Reddit threads are going, whether it's, you know, it feels like they always think of themselves as the victim and like the world is like out to get Alliance, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and to wrap all this up, there is an ironic twist to all of this. Do you remember how this beef originally started?
No.
Start of the DPC. Talent were asked to give their predictions. Do you remember that?
Oh, no.
Do you remember who put Alliance in relegation?
No. Was it?
It was me!
Was it you?
It was me, motherfucker! This all begins because I made a prediction before the season even started. We were asked to give predictions. And because, especially over the course of like the COVID online era and stuff and like what had happened the previous TI, the information that was set up is Western Europe is a very strong region. I don't think that has actually changed that much. I viewed the region as very competitive. So as a result, I was going to predict that there was going to be some sort of shakeup within Western Europe. And there was going to be a team that would not stay in upper division that was expected to stay. And that one of the lower division or the expected lower division teams was actually going to stay in upper division. And I made basically a coin flip choice between Nigma and Alliance. And I chose Alliance.
Easy choice. I mean, if you would have asked me.
I put them in 7th place. And this leads into a giant kerfuffle about like talent not respecting Alliance or whatever, which leads into Kyle putting out his fucking shit and Loda responding, and that turning into an ESL 1-bit, and then that in turn Kelly and Loda complaining to Dream League about the segment and saying it was unprofessional or whatever, and then me having my lash out on this podcast, and this and then the next year Alliance does get relegated. And it results in this fucking final explosion. Oh my god. I was sitting there watching all of this, and I was just like, holy shit. I was the fucking step on a leaf, and the other side of the world a hurricane appears. You know, I was the fucking leaf. I did this innocent thing of there was no ill will to it. It wasn't like I was cheering against Alliance or anything. I literally just thought that Western Europe was a very competitive region, and I thought that one team was going to drop out. And I was just
right.
like, I went through the list, and I was like, in time. Because yes, Western Europe is very competitive. And that means if there's going to be a winner of a team promoting themselves and staying promoted, there has to be a loser. And somebody is going to get knocked down. And it turns out it was Alliance.
Easy clap.
Holy fuck. Let me just end this by saying I hope Alliance makes it back into upper division, because I actually cheer for some of the players on that team.
I'd be shocked if they didn't. I would
think they should stay in lower division. I think they just I think they had the opposite of Liquid, basically, where things did not go right and the team seemingly blew up and they lost their captain. They also had like some people get COVID and shit. It's like, I think they just had a string of bad luck that resulted in them going down. So players especially like Leslau, I think that guy is like incredibly good. That guy does not deserve to be in lower division. So if he stays there, and if Alliance stays together, and well, obviously without Hanskin because they've already released him, but if they do stay together as 4, I'm confident they'll make it up back into upper division, and they'll actually be a good team. But they just had a shit start. It happens. It just as easily could have happened to Liquid, or just as easily could have happened to Secret. I mean, it kind of did.
Let's not get carried away. It could have happened to Liquid. Again, right? Nigma almost relegated, 1 spot above. Secret didn't make it to top 4, right? Like, very, very interesting times.
Yeah, like if I put that same prediction, if I put out that same prediction a year later, I would have looked like a fucking genius. But no, I put it out a year earlier, and everybody clowned on me. But guess what? I was right in the end, you motherfuckers.
Real quick, the Reddit thread for Weehaw that Kelly was posting a lot in, I actually think is interesting for people who want to go back and read that, because there are some fun thoughts and conversations and insights there that I don't think are normally shared, but Kelly was feeling particularly loose, and not just the player salary stuff. Like, I think that there's like interesting like politics there. I think that there's interesting thoughts from someone who is from a small org, how they think about big orgs. I know that my spidey senses were tingling because she was kind of talking down on any team like Liquid who have venture capital. I'm like, well, that's not fair. You're hating them for having a good business. But I think that thread was interesting. I think the thought of a Weehaw popping up somewhere is probably realistic in Season 2, even if it's not Alliance. There's some good people who are sitting on the bench, right? If teams need to shake it up.
Yeah. There are gonna be some teams shaking some shit up soon. I feel like Nigma is maybe one of them. I can't imagine this roster. I can't imagine Kuro just being accepting of this. Kuro's an incredibly driven person.
What if he's the problem?
He kicked Matamba Man because, I mean, it's possible, but he kicked Matamba Man because he felt like that was for the best, and I can't imagine that was an easy thing to do. So if he was willing to kick Matamba Man, like ILTW obviously is the first name to come, but I would not be surprised if their 4-man doesn't break apart in some capacity soon if they do not start experiencing some significant success. So,
yeah. They're probably the people. I don't imagine Secret is going to do anything different.
And the follow up. Did you see Effie's weatherman segment in response that made fun of Kyle?
I did, and I don't know.
I came up with that idea. Just
she.
It's a good segment.
I think that she felt it came across like she was uncomfortable doing it.
She's incredibly uncomfortable doing weatherman segments, but this was like her 4th one. If you look at the first one that she did, she's literally gone like fucking leaps and bounds every step of the way. So she's improving really quickly. So.
Yeah, I think that was my one funny good idea. 2, like I think that if you were the one executing the idea, I would have been like, but I was like,
the other thing.
Yeah.
It's all a fucking cycle because in a way, some of this starts with an ESL segment making fun of tweets, and it all comes back in the end, baby. It all comes back in the end. But of course, I won't see anybody tweeting out about how unprofessional that segment was.
No, not at all. I've been on Twitter today, January 24th, Wednesday. Fuck me, Monday. Jesus, edit that out, Joey. And ESL is something that I saw a lot of. Yeah. I saw a lot of people talking about ESL today. Because they have been bought by a different company that has merged ESL and Faceit together. That is based out of the state of Saudi Arabia with funding from the government for $1 billion. And I should probably start this conversation by noting that I am not a geopolitical expert, and I don't want to pull a Kaio, Nikobaby, Kelly Mickles, or Loda and put my foot in my mouth too firmly. So like there's a lot that I don't know. But what I do know is not great things have happened in that country. Maybe some that people would call crimes. I'm not a lawyer either.
Crimes against humanity, yeah.
But potentially, yeah. And I seem
human rights issues, yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. That's probably what it is. I mean, I guess we can call that one out as pretty obvious, right? There's human rights issues.
Humans do have rights.
Yeah, who would have known? I recall, recently, it wasn't that long ago, where Blast took some partnerships from Saudi Arabia, and everybody was like, "Hold the fucking phone!" I'm trying really hard to not yell. This is bad. And then due to some public pressure, that deal was walked back, and people were like,
Blast and League of Legends, right? LEC. That's the other one.
Yes, I even forgot about that one, but yes, 2 big companies. Obviously, the LEC's bigger. This isn't like a partnership deal that can just be PR walked back from. This is a signed, sold business that is now under the rights of different owners. So first off, I guess congratulations to everybody at ESL who was high up and been a while. Like Carmack, you deserve your Bugatti, I guess. But like
NTG MTG, right? Because ESL was already bought out by MTG, and then MTG in turn sold it to
I forget the
Savvy
name.
Gaming Group.
Yes. I don't know how I forgot the name. It's very funny.
Yes.
My understanding is that there was like that ESL had to do a lot of internal PR today with people
Yes.
across a bunch of different game titles, because one thing that they don't want is their talent, who quasi represents the company on a contractor basis, going out and probably talking too negatively about the situation. That's probably not good PR, because it was happening already. So I couldn't imagine that was fun from an ESL employee perspective. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people who now have to make choices about their line of work in regards to like, well, okay, where do I stand? Like, how strongly do I hold my values? Am I being hypocritical at all? Like, where does this fall down the line? Are we gonna like, is this gonna like this be a spiral of a bad thing? So I actually don't envy your and your colleagues' perspective, because I'm certain that a lot of people are gonna be stuck up in some moral dilemmas.
Yes. Not me. Not me though. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I have little moral qualms with this. And so here's the deal. I'm going to say the exact same things that I was going to say, regardless of whether or not ESL is it, like it's ESL or SGG or whether it's not it's approved by them or not. Like, so we actually did have a meeting today. The contractors, Dota 2 contractors, had a meeting with head of talent, and basically the meeting was to like, hey, so you've all seen what's going on. Here's a presentation.
You got a PowerPoint?
And then, yeah, and then like a Q&A. And as I can imagine, the poor person in charge of that has probably been berated and asked tough, awkward questions the entire day, and then got to us. And yeah, I think there are a lot of people asking the questions about like, is it acceptable for me to passively endorse a shitty situation? And I mean, we have already talked about this on multiple podcasts. And I made that clear to somebody recently who I don't think really realized. Esports is full of these things. I mean, we just went to China for TI not so long ago, and people had to ask themselves that question of like, do I go to China considering what's going on?
It's just a casual genocide. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Basically, if it's not Russia, it's China. If it's not China, it's Saudi Arabia or the UAE. If it's not that, it's shady gambling sponsors. If it's not that, it's scammy NFTs. Yes.
High five.
If it's not that, then it's some sort of, obviously we actually don't know, but there's probably some sort of money laundering going on. You know, what kind of mob ties these organizations potentially have. What sort of sports washing stuff is going on there? What regimes are throwing money around in order to legitimize their state? You know, like that. It's all over the place. I mean, just look at. In fact, I talked about this in the meeting. Like, just look at F1. All of a sudden, F1's all over Saudi Arabia. There's a whole bunch of races there. You know, it's called sports washing. You can Google it. It's a thing. And so yeah, I guess you have to sit down and the one thing that I keep on coming back to, that I keep on thinking about. Did you ever I just realized who I'm talking to. I was going to ask you, did you ever watch The Good Place?
I did watch The Good Place, even though I don't watch network television. but it's very
Okay,
good.
so I'll be giving slight spoilers here for anybody who dramatically cares about this, about 30 seconds. The good place is set up in basically these people go to heaven. Turns out it's actually hell. And the end of the story comes down to basically these divine beings realizing that humans are culpable of so many sins because the world that they have created is so interconnected, and every little thing that you do, no matter how ambivalent, has some sin tied to it. Whether like you're buying a nice salmon, and all of a sudden you're both in charge of pollution as well as the plastic waste that goes into overfishing the seas, and there's all these things, right? And that is the one thing that I just keep on coming back to whenever I think about this subject, because ultimately so many of these things are so big and so complicated and so tied into so many other things that we do, that in many ways it's weird to make a line in the sand in like one specific area. I think you make the line in the sand in things that you can actually have an impact on, and maybe that are more personal to you. And unfortunately, with this situation, I mean, we'll see what happens with ESL. Like, if ESL employees like boycott or whatever, like full support to them, and if they do, then I will join in whatever capacity I can. But I honestly don't think that there's anything that can really be changed about this scenario. This isn't a sponsorship. This isn't somebody adding their commercial to the pre-existing product. This is a company, Savvy Gaming Group, who is an extension of the Public Investment Fund, which is an extension of the Saudi Arabian government, and it's basically their way of trying to divest outside of the oil industry that has built up their country, and trying to invest in money all over the place. And this is just another industry that has been bought out by this. Same thing as, if you guys didn't know, Uber, I believe, is owned by PIF or some extension or arm of it. As just one example, they have their hands in everything. And that's the same for, whenever you look at these, like, whenever you see those, like, Venn diagrams, or not even Venn diagrams, just these diagrams of like, hey, here's this horrible corporation. Here's all the things they own, and it's everything. And if it's not that guy, it's some other guy, And so, yeah, I'll tell you right now, I'm not planning on. Don't think I would go to Saudi Arabia specifically, but if I did, it would be at a premium price. You're definitely paying me more money for that. But like, I'm not planning on specifically avoiding ESL events because of this.
Yeah, I'm assuming that sometime down the line, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, that we're going to see like a big ESL in some capacity in Saudi Arabia as a result of this. And then this might...
They said there was no plans for it, and really there was nothing that was ever going to come of that meeting, to be honest. I feel like it was mostly people just being like, I have a problem with this, and nothing was going to change. But like, for me, the biggest thing was like, I put forward, it was like, hey, we really don't want to come into a situation where 4 years down the line, you guys are having an event in Saudi Arabia, some DOTA event, and none of the talent show up. So, it would be in everyone's best interest if you guys didn't end up, if that is going to come down the pipeline, and you should try and steer that in another direction as much as possible, because that may come into effect. Or maybe it's not. Maybe everybody will go and there will be no boycott whatsoever. But like, that is a possibility. And like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm pretty free to talk about this, because like, I have specific, like, I am somebody who has boycotted an event, right? I feel like when things come down to it, like, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is and make my stand on things that I think both I can have an impact on, and that I like, really believe in. And this is unfortunately one of those deals that is like too big for my sphere of influence,
So to recap, not going to an event in North Korea. Probably not, but maybe, who knows, too early to tell, going to an event in Saudi Arabia.
There's a price.
Okay.
We had this specific conversation in the green room, and everybody, the initial reaction was, and I was like, hey, there's an event in North Korea. This was actually before this news came out, funnily enough.
Yeah, no, we talked about it last week.
Oh, yeah. There's a price. There's a price.
How would you feel about going to do an event in a country that at any point in time could be invaded by military forces?
Yeah, I would. Would I go to the Ukraine for an event right now? Honestly, I probably would. But I feel like I'm a little.
I can't do a podcast with you if you're like
fast.
A prisoner of war, or like on the news as like Americans stuck in Kiev after invasion. Like, they're not going to let us. We're going to have to, like, I'll have to refund the Patreon money for a couple months till you get out.
Yeah, but think how many clicks that an episode will get when we're finally, like, I'm finally flown in from the helicopters that pick me up, you know, I come back, we have an episode, I talk about everything that happened, boom.
Dude, we get the president on the show, we do it on the tarmac, we record the show from Air Force One.
You know what, that's it. I'm booking a flight to Ukraine right now. I'll just make up that there was some DOTA reason I needed to be there. Sign up with the militia. I know how to fire a gun, let's go.
That's great. Now I gotta scrub that part from the podcast because someone's listening. It's gonna be a problem. I'm hearing, you know, I asked that question in jest, but also like semi-seriously because I'm hearing multiple rumors of, like, you know, maybe in this low period WePlay will try and do something. And my initial reaction to that is, okay, that could be cool. That sounds like a very WePlay thing to do. But even if those rumors are close to true, are they going to get people to travel to what could be a war zone at any given point in time? Like, that sounds like a hard sell. I don't know if anyone's listened to the news recently, and I'm not going to give an opinion on Ukraine and Russia aside from, like, you know, don't invade other countries. Hot take. But, like, I feel like it would be hard to get a full group of people, let alone players, to a hot zone.
Yeah. It kind of actually had a funny comment about this in the group chat. He said that Ukrainians just kind of have laughed off the West's recent news cycle of Russia invading Ukraine, because for them it's like this has been a thing for 8 years. Why are you guys like treating it as like the big hot shit now? This has been going on for forever. You guys not been paying attention? Which I think is both fair and probably a little unfair. It's obviously that things are heating up and it's getting to a point where it's going to spill over at some point. But
I mean,
I'm not anticipating them running an event in Ukraine.
That's also what I'm thinking, which is why do I keep hearing these rumors? Like, there's no way this comes to fruition.
Maybe they do it. They just do it somewhere else.
I mean, that would be cool. The whatever state is less likely to be attacked.
Yeah.
What's next to Bulgaria?
Poland?
Not that one.
No. Can't go to Poland either.
You can't go to Kyrgyzstan or any of those.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah. It's a stinky situation. Synderen actually asked an interesting question, and it was just more for like the group, and like it was like, how much do you guys view this as different from Tencent and owning Riot Games, right? Because if you're an employer or contract for them, you're working for Tencent. They own 100% of that company, and Tencent is an arm of the Chinese government. And I said, from my personal view, I think they're the same, but you can throw up some smoke and mirrors, you know, and maybe feel a little bit better about yourself because Tencent is a company, while the Public Investment Fund is like a direct arm, a very blatant arm of the Saudi Arabian government. But like, from my personal view, like, let's be honest, they're probably the same. So, you know. So, and I think it's worse The optics are worse, certainly, but
It's complicated.
feels like the same shit sandwich.
It's like, I also believe that you can be a supporter and proponent of change without being a full zealot to a cause. You know, like I think that you can spread good and kind of be a little bit in a gray area, but still be net overall positive while still trying to, you know, function in your livelihood. Like giving up, like, you know, if you extrapolate that to, well, I can never work at Riot because I disagree with China and Tencent. Like for someone like me who could be, you know, it could be a possibility that one day I work at Riot for something, right? Like that could be, then I'm having to weigh like a very serious livelihood against morals. And that's hard because I want to stand here and say, absolutely not. Of course I'm going to go, you know, do what I think is right for the world. But, you know, there's also a number attached to it. And also like how bad am I personally doing by taking a job and taking some of that money, right? Like, so it's painfully not cut and dry. And I don't think that we should shame anybody for making decisions that is going to positively impact their life or like super core to their livelihood. If they're egregious,
you
then
guys
maybe
can shame me. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
shame me as much as you want. I don't give a shit. This is one of those things that like public opinion won't change my personal take on it. You know,
when you're casting atop the Burj Khalifa, I'll be somewhere shaming you. I'll be ringing that bell, going ding ding ding, motherfucker. Look at this guy's morals.
I mean, listen, it goes both ways, you know. Like, I'm down to boycott something that the community isn't pushing for, and I'm down to work something that the community is pushing us to boycott. You know, my greatest loyalty is actually to the in this specific scenario. Is to the ESL and DreamHack employees that I've worked with. That like there are a lot of good people there. So you know, if whatever they choose to do, you know, I'll kind of support in whatever way I can as a contractor. But yeah, I mean, honestly, my moral compass is fairly limited, I would say. Keep my ambitions low. Just want to do what I can for my friends and family, make the people around me happy, add a little bit of brightness to people's day, and try not to do too much bad shit. That's it.
I would argue that you're successful at that. I would say that there's people who are listening. I mean, yeah, you make my day better sometimes. But like, there's probably people listening right now who you're making smile, even though we just spent an hour 15 talking about, you know, one of the more serious weeks in Dota with a bunch of shit that is objectively less funny. This is I think that we slant towards humor. Everything we talked about is hard to make funny, right? We're talking about
the Kelly Kyle Nikobaby situation. That was pretty funny. I feel like there's no way you can't laugh at that. There's no way you seriously report that like TMZ, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. God, I don't know what they're thinking. I sent you. I think that's everything, right? I'm gonna move on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on and wrap up. We got a question on Patreon, patreon.com/sidepull, for anybody who wants to support the show and fund whatever the fuck this is. 1, thank you. 2, end of the show, fan question segment. PPUMAWUT, you can ask us a question on Patreon. We'll respond on the show. We're stuck here, and we have no choice. And we also only have one person who sent a thing in, so we really don't have a choice of what to choose.
Easy.
Udi, what sent us in a question? What was it, Cap?
What are your workout routines, and what are some of your personal bests in terms of the big 3 moves: bench press, squat, and deadlift? So I can't actually answer this question, Joey.
You can't.
I don't know what my I actually I do not squat, nor do I deadlift very often. Those
man.
maneuvers, well, it's not squatting, but deadlift. Those maneuvers scare me, and I prefer to do things that, even if my form is bad, could not actually affect my long-term health.
So I'm gonna sound lame here with you, Cap.
Yeah.
It's so boring when we are an exact copy of each other. Like sometimes I feel like I should lie more or like, do something for the sake of entertainment. But I feel like you run into this problem somewhat frequently where we just are too agreeable, which like in a podcast can be boring because I have bench press. I can talk to you about bench pressing. I basically refuse to squat. Because I know my form with it isn't good. I know one of my knees is a little bit weak, and I have personally watched two people, one of them being my mother, just blow out a fucking knee squatting. I don't fuck with it. I don't fuck with it. And deadlifting, my back is like already not great for being 29, so like I don't really want to fuck with that either.
From being 29.
I
what
know.
the fuck?
Dude, I got 1 year for that Forbes 30 to 30.
I was gonna say my back hasn't been great because the military fucked me up, but
Yeah.
And that was actually the other thing is like the fittest I've ever been was in the military, and I have no idea what I could possibly do back then.
I have done a 225 bench press, and that is the highest that I have gone on a bench press.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
I am 5'10". I currently weigh 220. Normally when I'm leaned out, I'm at about 190, 195. I haven't been under 180 since I was 13. So this is my body type, unfortunately.
Okay. I am 6. Sorry. Oh, sorry. You keep going.
I don't know, like, because I feel like to give like a 1 rep max or a workout routine, like some of that is kind of important because, if people just listen to my voice and never see me, don't know how tall I am, and 215 could be 220 could be like more or less impressive, right? But I'm like a stocky, pretty muscular, 5'10" guy, so I'm happy with that as a bench press. I think right now I can probably like comfortably do reps of like one probably somewhere between like 150 and 170, probably like 150 to 180 is probably where I could like comfortably do stuff right now.
Yeah, I never did PR. I never really saw a big point of it. So when I was actually keeping track of bench press, I think the highest I would go is like 185, 5x5. So what William tells me is that it's like my PR would be somewhere but I personally never really saw the point of doing that.
Masculinity. That's what it is.
True.
Yeah.
True. Big number, better person. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
A couple notes to this. So I used to be, at my lightest, I'm 6 foot. At my lightest, or at my most fit, rather, I was 160 pounds. Did you know that? When I got out of the military, I was 160 pounds. There was no fat on me whatsoever.
I didn't have a beard the last time I weighed that much. I was like pre-middle puberty. Like that weight doesn't exist.
That would have been me at 19, I think. That's when I joined the military. 18, 19, somewhere in there. So, give it like a year, and that was probably at my best. So, yeah.
If you would have had a cell phone back then with a good camera, like how many ab pictures would you have of yourself? Would you just have like a full ream, or you'd be like in the mirror going like, "Oh man, look at me, I'm so torn up. Oh man."
Actually, while I did have a six-pack, it went away very, very quickly. I am not built to be able to have a six-pack. I carry a fair amount of my fat around my tummy, sadly. So I'll never have a six-pack again, is what I'm saying. Because the insanely fit that I had to be in order to get that, no. Okay, so my father is a weightlifter, Olympic weightlifter,
and hot. Let's be clear.
And I've never seen him. He's never had a six-pack. and we've got the same body type. So I gave up on that dream. The first time I saw that I had a six pack, and then it went away within like 2 days. I was just like, all right, never again. That's not meant for me.
I have a
Also,
goal.
the other thing, sorry,
Go
the other thing, really quickly, I have noticed that my lungs are actually worse as a result of COVID. Even though I did not have lung problems during COVID, and nor did JJ, I have actually had. I can tell my lungs are weaker and worse after COVID. So that's a fun little side note. I've been trying to like start ramping up, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable.
Just in terms of like what your baseline is, like you have a lower baseline
Yeah.
now, and you feel healthy right now and normal, aside from you get winded
Yeah.
easier. Like
Yeah, exactly. I get winded easier, a lot easier, and yeah, like other than that, I feel perfectly fine and healthy. But
I've seen-
stamina is definitely gone down a bit, and my lungs have always been the worst part of my cardio. Always, 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 always. But it's mega bad now. So unfortunate side effect of COVID.
I've heard a lot of pro athletes talk about that too. Getting COVID and then just like not being able to peak perform afterwards because they don't feel 100%. My lungs, back to the earlier point, my lungs are also probably the worst part about my cardio. I'm asthmatic, but like not in need inhaler all the time way, and like exercise makes me not breathe very well way. I'm alive because of modern medicine. I'm very thankful for it, all things considered. So I'm worried about COVID because of a situation like that, because I know that my lungs are probably like 80% of what, should be healthy in me. But if they got down to like 60% or like 70%, that seems scary. In terms of actual workout routine, I'm not going to the gym. I haven't been for about 2 months now because I'm scared of Omicron, and I don't think going to the gym is safe, especially with case numbers the way they are. So I've been shifting my routine to be more at home focused. I have 50-pound dumbbells that I lay on the floor, and I do chest flies, like floor dumbbell chest presses, not flies. Sorry. I do 4 sets of 20 reps of 50 pounds in each hand, and then I do 3 30-second planks. I do a full stretching routine that takes about 15 minutes every day, and I'm trying to get up to about an hour to 90 minutes of cardio on the bike, with the goal being to do all of that 5 to 7 times a week.
Damn.
Which
That's a hefty workout routine.
it's time consuming, especially the stretching, which has become very important to me, because like I realized that I really genuinely need it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I switch the dumbbell chest press for dumbbell curls, and for the curls I use 40s. I think that I got a glimpse of being happier about my body like last October before my sister's wedding, because I was trying pretty hard, and then I gave up like chronically and quickly, and like did not do myself any favors. And I don't want to be like the waveform diet exercise person, but just try and find some type of happy medium, which is mostly going to be curbing my own food intake, to get back to that place, not as a rapid pace. I have a goal to be at least where I was by the wedding, and hopefully be under 200 pounds by June, because I think that I'm going to be in Europe this summer for something, COVID willing. And I want to go there with people who I don't know, and I want to feel comfortable swimming with my shirt off. So I have 5 months to find something that's sustainable and kind of keep myself there.
Well, my current routine is trying to do more gentle cardio in general. But my old workout routine, you can easily just Google it. It's push pull legs. There are various variations. I would literally sometimes just Google one of them and just be like, try something different today, and I would just do whatever whatever that variation of PPL puts forward. So to be honest, like a lot of times I just kind of like do whatever strikes me in the moment, as long as I feel like I'm working a specific set of muscles and that I'm varying what I'm doing, because I think the biggest thing is just like consistency, right? So if consistency for you is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that's what works for you, great. If consistency is like you get bored, you want to try different things, then you should do that. But whatever promotes consistency is best.
Push pull legs.
I haven't worked out since TI, because I got COVID and then everything went to shit. So
push pull legs sounds similar to what I was doing at the gym, which was would you do all three of those in like one workout, or would you rotate between pushing, pulling, and legs?
Yeah. It's a 6 day a week workout. So push day, pull day, legs day.
So I was doing at least 3 days a week at the gym, but like I was doing arms and chest, back, and legs, and I think that is probably something similar, right? Because like pushing is like arms and chest, and pulling is like back.
Yeah, pulling is arms and back.
Yeah.
So doing pull-ups, bicep curls, stuff like that.
Cool. If you want us to get into a non-tangent for anything of your liking, where I can talk about how I'm not happy with my physical appearance, or anything else, my deepest secrets are yours. If you want to ask questions on patreon.com/sidepull. People have been liking that we have had some timestamps in the YouTube video. That's a direct result of people supporting the show. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. People who are watching on YouTube, because I know that there's some of you who only watch on YouTube. I think that the camera feed is not great this week. I know that I've been watching it stutter for the last hour. I'm sorry about that. People on the podcast player, you're probably like, why isn't Joey talking to me? Well, I can talk to you now, because if you're on Spotify released a rating system similar to Apple, where podcasts have a 5-star rating that you can apply to it. I don't know how much it helps the algorithm. I don't know how many people are finding us through the algorithm. I don't understand why it's beneficial like it is for Apple yet on Spotify. But you can rate us 5 stars on Spotify because it's available. It's in the app. You can do that.
And if you're listening and you're from the Public Investment Fund, we have a Patreon tier called Thunderhide for $500 a month.
You can join up.
You could sponsor this podcast. Just $500. It's not even close to the $1 billion that you paid for ESL.